I'm Debbie Godfrey. Welcome to the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast. For this week, I'm going to be providing you with the Dial a Discipline audio. This is a product I created about a decade and a half ago, quite a while. It was for parents in my classes to have a supplement to the systematic approach to parenting and discipline that I use. It's a handheld wheel that you can hang on your refrigerator or put in your purse, and it helps you when you're in misbehavior situations with being able to brainstorm in the moment ideas for what to do instead. So when I sell this wheel, there's an audio that goes along with it, which explains exactly how to use it. So that's what I'm giving you for this next week. I'll put a link in the comments to the actual dial if you'd like to purchase it. You don't have to. All of this information that's provided via audio will give you what you need to be able to redirect your children's behavior. Thanks for stopping by.
Now we're going to talk about the goal of revenge. And just a reminder, when you get into situations where your child's misbehaving in a way and you feel hurt, like you want to hurt them back, you might feel disappointed, disbelieving, disgusted. So you know your child's mistaken goal is revenge. And what your child's mistaken belief is, I don't think I belong, so I'm going to make you feel hurt the way I feel hurt. And what happens in this goal is that, in my experience, about 80% of the time, I find that I do things that cause this goal in my child. Now, the other 20% of the time, stuff happens out in the world that makes them feel hurt. And so they come home and they make you feel hurt the way they feel hurt. And it doesn't really matter which it is. However, it's important to understand how much we do to contribute to causing this goal in our kids, because part of correcting it is going to be repairing that mistake or making up for what we did to contribute to causing that. So the first step to redirecting the goal of revenge is to stop disciplining. So on your dial of discipline, it says avoid punishment and retaliation and postpone discipline. The reason that these are important is because right now, when your child goes into the goal of revenge, your relationship is actually damaged. We have a saying when I teach parenting teenagers, and it's rules without relationship equals rebellion. So if you don't have a connection, if you don't have a relationship with your child, you don't have any influence either. And so this is really key to remember. When your child's in the goal of revenge, your relationship is disturbed or damaged right now, and that you're not going to have much influence on them. So to postpone punishment, to avoid discipline and retaliation in the moment is going to be the most difficult, most challenging thing for you to do, yet it's so important. So as soon as you notice, as soon as your child says, you're mean to me, you're a bad mommy, I hate you, then you're going to stop and you're going to say, ouch, that hurts. That this child is in the goal of revenge. I need to stop punishing right now. And on here, it also says, share your feelings, make amends, and reestablish the connection. So what you're going to do is repair your relationship before you get back to correcting their misbehavior. So one of the things that I always like to do first when my child goes into this goal is to say, ouch. And I'll say it a little loudly. When a child says or does something hurtful, the best response you can say is ouch, because this is mirroring back to them the effect that they're having on their world. This is showing them how they're impacting their environment. And it's one of the best things you can do for them. So when they say or do something hurtful, whether it's to you, maybe they picked up the cat by the tail, whatever, or punched their brother in the head, ouch, that hurts. Then when you're in the goal of revenge, the next thing you want to do is stop and think, did I do anything, or what did I do to cause this? So I'll look through my brain, and if I have just been yelling at them, if I wasn't listening to them, that's what I'll apologize for. So I'll say, I apologize for yelling at you. Or I'll say, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you. So I'll look and see, what may I have done that contributed to this child going into the goal of revenge? Like I said, in my world, I give myself about 80% responsibility for causing this one. One of the biggest ways that I did it when they were little was lying to them. Now, of course, I didn't lie to them intentionally. What it would look like is this. We would have to go do errands, and my kids hated going and doing errands with me. So I would tell them, okay, we're going to 2 banks in the post office. And so we would go to 2 banks in the post office, and then I would try to throw in another one. I'd say, okay, we're just going to stop at the grocery store first. And they would go ballistic. They would start going totally into the goal of revenge. And I learned that that's one of the things that I did that caused revenge, was not being truthful with them, not keeping my word. So essentially that's lying. So what do we do? What are some of the things we parents do? Well, yelling at them, spanking them, grounding them, any kind of, punishment that's above and beyond whatever their misbehavior is doing is going to can possibly cause them to go into the goal of revenge. Kids that are sickly, kids that have learning disabilities, they often go into the goal of revenge. Kids that have been hurt by other things, getting in fights with their friends, getting in trouble at school. Kids that are going through divorce, when the parents are going through divorce, are notorious. In my observation, if you're going through a divorce, chances are your child will get stuck in the goal of revenge for about 2 years. And this is just a natural outform of when you're going through a divorce, kids they're feeling hurt by the situation. And so they're going to make everybody else feel hurt the way that they feel hurt. So again, when you get into situations, when your child's in the goal of revenge, you want to remember to stop hurting back, stop punishing them, and reestablish a connection. Now with my son, one time he was, he got into the goal of revenge. And what he did is he went over and he kicked the coffee table and he broke the leg on it. And that's when I realized he was in the goal of revenge. It was like, ow, okay, we're obviously not okay here. Looks like you're feeling really hurt. And what I did was I stopped hurting back, stopped punishing him in the moment. I said, hey, Michael, why don't we go take a hike? And we went out and went hiking in the woods, just bonded, connected, got together. After we got back home, we had reestablished the connection, our relationship. And I said, you need to fix the coffee table. And I went and got a screw gun and some nails and stuff. And I helped him fix the coffee table. So it's not that you don't discipline them, but it's that you postpone that discipline. And what you'll find is kids will naturally fix what they did wrong. If they were being disrespectful to you, a lot of times a day or two later, they'll apologize to you. A lot of times they'll be willing to own or fix what they did wrong when you use these steps for correcting the goal of revenge. Now, in the situations, the 20% of the time where you didn't do it, I've got a great example of this. My daughter, Brianna, she came home from school one day and she slammed the door and then she said something really nasty to me. And I was just, my first instinct was to start punishing her, but I didn't. I just stopped and I said, ow, that hurts. And she was just growling and being mean. And I said, wow. And I'm trying to think of like what I did. And I couldn't think. Thought I was being a pretty good parent in that period of time. And I said, Brie, I'm trying to think of what I may have done to hurt you. And I can't think of anything, but if I did something, I apologize for it. And she just growled at me and went stomping off and slammed her door and went in her room. And so I'm sitting on the couch going, wow, what happened to my child? I knew she was in the goal of revenge, but I didn't know why she was, being like that. And I didn't understand what I did. And I was just sitting there trying to think about it. And about 5 minutes later, she comes out bawling her head off. So I'm holding her and comforting her and, rubbing her back, and she's crying and crying. And finally she's sniffling and she says, I got in a fight with Kino and Jen today and they're not my friends anymore. I'm like, in my head, like, this is my problem. So she got hurt in the world. She came home. She made me feel hurt the way she felt hurt. Now, what would have happened when Brianna walked in the door if I had disciplined her for slamming the door? If I had disciplined her for talking nasty to me? What would have happened? I would have totally shut her down, and she would never have come to me and been comforted by me for her pain. And so that is just an example of what the possibility is. If you can step aside for a moment, put aside the discipline, realize that your child is hurting when they're doing this goal, and give some time to establish the love and the connection again, you can get back and correct their misbehavior later. So that's redirecting the goal of revenge.
Thank you for listening to today's Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast. If you're into season 2 and you're listening to all these great questions that the parents have and answers and ideas for what to do in all these different situations with your kids, please help us out. Like, share, subscribe, and especially leave us a positive review. All of that helps the podcast grow, and I really appreciate it. Thanks again for being here, and happy parenting.